I feel like it's a way for us to be able to protect ourselves as well. So if somebody asks you to do something that you feel uncomfortable with, you should not feel obligated to give them a reason besides the fact that you just don't feel comfortable with. Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Now today I wanted to talk about the word no. And I know that there's a lot of negative connotation behind the word no, but today I wanted to look at it from a different angle. Ever since I started to work, I feel like people have always said to always say yes, be a yes person, say yes to new opportunities, and I definitely agree with that. But when I talk about saying the word no more, I mean it in a more social context, like if you're hanging out with friends or if you're going on a date. I feel like we need to normalize being able to say no without having an excuse or a reason behind it. I know that saying that might make me sound like kind of an asshole, but let me explain. I'm naturally more of an introvert, so whenever I get put into social situations, a lot of the times I don't actually really feel comfortable. So I definitely am okay with going out to socialize once in a while, but I don't love being in big crowds and I hate small talk. So most of the time when I have to be put into a situation that I'm uncomfortable with, I usually don't actually want to go, but I don't want to hurt that person. So I would tell them no, but come up with some sort of excuse afterwards. So maybe among the lines of like, I'm not feeling well, something came up, and I'm sure you've experienced it before too. But I've recently started to question why we need to do that. Like, I understand that in a professional setting, if your boss were to ask you to a networking event or to a dinner or a lunch and you didn't feel like it, obviously it's not professional to say, no, I don't feel like it. But I think when it comes to like your close friends, like, I think being able to straight up say that you're not down for it, you don't want to go just because you're not feeling it that day, I feel like it should be completely normal to do that. But a lot of the reasons why we decide that we have to come up with an excuse or something is because we don't want to hurt that person. And on the receiving end of it, I'll have to admit I might feel a little bit uncomfortable with it as well. But I guess sometimes I wonder why we have to feel uncomfortable. I think if somebody didn't want to hang out with me, and most of the time when they say no, they don't want to hang out, it's not because they don't want to hang out with you, but it's because maybe something's going on in their lives, or it might be something personal, and it's up to that person if they want to tell us or not. I think my sister is really good at that, where if she doesn't want something, she'll just say no. And I find myself always looking for a reason. Like, how could you just like not want to do it? Like, there must be a reason. But I've come to also realize that it's okay sometimes to not have a reason. And if you don't want to do it, then you don't have to do it. I feel like I've also kind of realized that as well in my dating life. So I haven't been in a relationship for about 3 years. And I feel like one of the biggest reason is because I've gotten a lot better at saying no and speaking up about the way that I really feel. So whenever I think about a lot of my past relationships, not that they were forcing me to do things that I wasn't comfortable with, I think that now that I'm older, I find that I have a lot more higher expectations and I wouldn't just let certain things slide. If I felt strongly about a certain thing, I would say no and I would strongly stand by it. Whereas before, I was definitely a lot more passive and my opinion was swayed very easily. And I think it definitely comes with experience as well. As I get older, I know that like these are the things that I want, and if you're not able to like make me feel comfortable about it, then I'm gonna tell you no. So last year I was in Toronto and I just tried like online dating over there and met a few people. And there was like a few examples where in the past, if you know, like a guy, it wasn't working out, I would honestly be afraid of how they would think of me. And there's a lot of people who just don't deal with rejection very well. I met a guy in Toronto where like before we started going out, like I asked him, do you like it when girls are upfront and straightforward? Like, I don't want to waste your time, but if it's like not working out, like I'm gonna be straight up. And he's like, yeah, like 100%, like tell me like what you want, and I'll 100% respect you. And I was like, okay, great. And so there was a day where he came over, and like I was new to Toronto and just met this guy like a few times. By the time it was getting late, he was like, hey, like, is it okay if I sleep over? And I told him no. So this is one of the things where I feel like Carol 5 years ago would have just like caved. I would have felt bad for asking this person to go home even though it was really late at night. And I would be really reckless and not think about my own safety. So in this situation, I told him, no, I'm sorry, I don't feel comfortable with it. It has nothing to do with you, but it's just because I'm new here and I would rather sleep by myself tonight. And instead of like understanding that, I'm not sure if he just didn't like that I rejected his request, or if he felt like I didn't care about him because I told him I didn't want him to stay over, but he really took offense to that. And then he kind of just like left and didn't talk to me. And obviously the next day I sent him a message and I told him that like I didn't appreciate the way that he responded to that, and told him maybe it'd be better if we didn't see each other again. So there was another guy where we went out for some drinks and actually had a really great time with him. We had a really good conversation and nothing was wrong with him. But it was just, I don't know, for me, sometimes when I go out on dates, there's just like a feeling where you don't feel that connect with somebody. You might have had like a really good conversation, but something was just off, that I just didn't feel like I made that personal connection with him. After a date, I told him that I had a great time, but he just didn't seem like my type, and like, okay, that was fine. And then he sent me a message saying, okay, well, since we're being honest, you weren't really my type as well. I just thought to myself, okay, that's great, you know, mutual understanding, no hurt feelings, we were both on the same page. I wasn't his type and he wasn't my type. Like, that's great. Like, he took this really well. And so didn't talk to him anymore. And maybe a few weeks later, he sent me like a really long message. You can see the screenshot over here. You can pause to read it. But basically, he sent me a really long message telling me why he feels like we should be friends with benefits. And when I saw this, I didn't expect a message like this from him. So I kind of thought about it, and I was just like thinking again, like going through my head, what kind of answer should I give him? Should I give him an excuse, or should I just tell him straight up like, no, I'm not interested? I would just think of all the different scenarios that would happen. Like, I was just legitimately not interested in this person and I didn't want to force myself. I was gonna straight up tell him that no, I wasn't interested. And you could see in the message over here that he kind of continues to push for it. And this is where I kind of get a little bit annoyed, because I feel like if you ask anybody anything and they tell you that they don't want you to do it, I feel like you need to be able to back off. This interaction got me really thinking about a lot of the relationships that I've had in the past. I felt really bad for hurting somebody, and I just didn't really want to put somebody in that uncomfortable situation, and I would always put that person's feeling before mine. And so I told him, I don't have a reason, I don't want to. So we stop at that, and we don't talk for like a few days. I just assumed that was over. And he messages me a few days later, this really long message, basically telling me that he thought that I was very immature for telling him that I didn't want to do it, and with no reason. So I just really got to thinking that why is that? Like, why am I being immature for saying no? And why do I need to always provide somebody with a reason? Is it really not okay to not want to do something just because you don't want to do it? I really started to think about the word no and what it really means. Obviously, like, I know what it means, but when you say it, why do people always expect you to give a reason? And like, of course I get it from like case to case, like I said in the beginning, in like a professional way, I understand you have to give a reason. But I think that when it comes to social situations and like going on dates and somebody asking you to do something that you don't feel comfortable with, no should be enough. It really opened my eyes to what this word can really mean when you say it. Oh, what do you guys think? I really want to hear your thoughts behind it, because I feel like maybe with society normalizing saying certain things just so that you won't offend or hurt another person is a really big reason why we do this as well. If somebody asks me to hang out and I just say, no, I'm not feeling it, I might actually come off as an asshole or somebody who's, like not understanding of the situation. I just always think, like, why does it have to be that way? Why aren't you able to honestly say how you feel without being seen as the bad person? And I feel like it's a way for us to be able to protect ourselves as well. So if somebody asks you to do something that you feel uncomfortable with, you should not feel obligated to give them a reason besides the fact that you just don't feel comfortable with. I feel like it's all part of consent too. If somebody were to come up to me and be like, hey, like, can I get your number? And I said, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not comfortable. And that person asked why. I guess in my head, I'm just like, why do I owe you this explanation? Like, I don't even know you. But sometimes people just feel obligated. They feel entitled to know more of an answer because no hurts them. What do you guys think? Is it okay to say no in social situations with your friends, families, people that you go on dates with? And should it be something that's normalized? And should we be able to say it without having to worry that it's going to hurt somebody else? Okay, please let me know in the comments, do you agree with me? If you do, why? And if you don't, why? I just want to know. Well, thanks so much for coming to the end of this video again. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to give me a big thumbs up and click to subscribe. I'm going to put out new videos every week. Thanks, guys. Bye.